Hey everybody, this is Richard Barker, the Incredible Hypnotist. We are on our way to Ormond Beach to shoot a video on how to hire, recruit, train and work with a stage assistant. Now we're on our way to meet Missy, who is the princess of hypnosis, and Missy has been a stage assistant for quite some time now. She's trained in hypnosis, and we thought for you guys to learn out there what you need to consider when recruiting and training and hiring a stage assistant, why not ask the stage assistant? So we're on our way to a show in Ormond Beach, beautiful state of Florida, and we're going to be asking Missy what are the things that she considers as an assistant. What is it she's looking for? What is it that she thinks that you should use to train other people and other assistants? And it's really going to be invaluable for you if you are a stage hypnotist and you're looking to get some help on stage. You know, sometimes you can hire a stage assistant that really actually causes you more problems than it's worth, but Missy's got it down. She's going to give you her top tips, and keep watching. We're going to go over to Ormond Beach and we are going to speak to her right now.
So we just got into the room and it's a small square space and there's light behind us, but by the time the show starts it will be dark, so we don't really have to worry about that very much. But when you consider this type of space, when there's no designated stage or specific area that they do performances, we just have to create one. And what Richard likes is Richard either likes his chairs lined up on a curve or in rows. In this particular room, we're going to have to probably put something on a curve over here in this corner, because there's access from the inside, from the outside, from this way and this way. So if we blocked any of the entrances, that would be a terrible idea. So the first thing that you need to do as an assistant, if the hypnotist hasn't told you where to set up, is figure out the best place to do it and speak to management. And we're going to move all these chairs and tables and make some space for the participants to sit this way, and we're also going to make room for everyone who's coming to watch, and hopefully some of those people will eventually get pulled up into the show. So that's what we're going to do now. So we chose this corner because it's a square room and there's an entrance here on this side and an entrance on this side, and so this would be the best place to go so that when people are moving back and forth they can either see the show or not disrupt the show. So we're going to do an arch of chairs in this corner because it makes the most sense as far as the space goes in the room, and Richard will be able to maneuver behind the chairs and around to the front like he likes to do. And so this is the ideal space in this space that they've given us. So a lot of times when you come to the venue, you don't know exactly what to expect as far as their furniture and chairs and things like that go. These chairs are great for hypnosis shows. They're sturdy. Looks like these are good choices, thank goodness. We're going to move most of this furniture out of the way, create a little arch of tables here. This table we're going to leave behind the chairs for Richard's banner, which will be kind of the centerpiece of the show behind, so that everybody can see that behind all of the participants. So we're just going to move some furniture and get things moving to set up a hypnosis show. Now Richard likes to be able to get behind the chairs and around the front of them, so you always have to be really understanding of what it is that the hypnotist likes to do. Some people maybe don't even go between the chairs. Richard doesn't want space between the chairs unless there's a big long group and then there's a space in the middle, and that's just the hypnotist preference. So that's just something that you're going to need to know how to do, and they'll help you learn exactly what they want. And you better know how to do it, because when they show up, they want their chairs to be right, so that all they have to do is show up and do their job, because you've done yours. Putting that on an angle, because Richard needs to get back here. This chair and table are going to move out of the way. And we're getting ready to create a space for a show, even though there wasn't a stage. Make your own stage. You also have to look for obstacles. Like sometimes, like I just kind of stepped on this funny little space here. It looks like the door's open and closed, and there's a divot in the ground. So I'm gonna have to warn Richard about that because he's the only one that'll be back here. I'm not worried about the safety of the participants, but if he trips, then he gets knocked out, and then everybody has to emerge from hypnosis 15 minutes later, and the show won't be any fun. So you just have to look for safety issues like that when you are setting up around. You might just want to be okay with 7. I think that that's going to have to work because it is a small little thing. I will make some space for people to watch. We'll come rolling. I just noticed that this chair has some splintering wood. I'm sure that it's fine, but I would prefer not to use this chair, so I'm going to pull this one out. As you can see, we do not tape the chairs together. We do not zip tie the chairs together. Many hypnotists choose to do that. Richard likes to keep the stage really clean, so if we lose somebody because they weren't in the right depth of hypnosis for a show, if they're not a good subject to be part of our show to entertain and have a great time because they just weren't at the right level, then we'll excuse them from the stage, and we will we'll remove the chairs and kind of put everybody in the middle, so it gives a nice clean look. It's less work for Richard to maneuver around empty chairs. There's no purpose of that, and it just looks nicer, and it keeps all the participants together for all the action.
Hey, so I've just arrived at a venue to go ahead and do a show, and one of the things I like to do, before a show is find out what kind of advertising and marketing has taken place. So I've walked around inside the venue, and there is absolutely no show posters, no tickets, no flyers, no postcards, nothing indicating that actually a show is even existing. So it looks like the only advertising that's been done is on Facebook. But it really would be, just as an observation, nice to make sure you know what advertising has or hasn't been done. I'm looking at the front door to this premises right now, and it basically says, due to a private party, the kitchen will close at 7. That doesn't say anything about there being a public hypnosis show. So it's a little bit kind of upsetting when customers have been coming in and out of this place for the last couple of months. And of course, when they're in there, they're looking at the front door, they're looking at the walls, and there is nowhere that actually tells anybody that there is even a show taking place tonight. So that's one thing to watch when you're working with promoters. On the one hand, we're trying to sell tickets, on and offline, but if there's no evidence inside the actual premises that a show actually exists, then we're losing all the foot traffic that have decided to drive past the place, stop in, go and get a bite to eat, go and get a drink, and then they go, oh look, there's a hypnosis show taking place in a couple of weeks. But because there's absolutely no evidence of a show even existing, we've clearly lost a few people. Because if I was to walk in here and just decide I wanted to grab a beer, grab a sandwich, and I was in the area not knowing what's going on tonight, and I wanted something to do, I wouldn't come here because it looks like it's a private event, private function. So it's a real consideration to, it never makes me happy when I see no advertising inside a property. Always makes me nervous, because if there's no advertising in a property and now we're only relying on viral, it's just not good.
Alright, so some of the tools of the trade are the hypnotist business cards. Someone will inevitably come up to you afterward and tell you how wonderful the show is, and if they don't have his contact information, you have it because they want to know how to stop smoking or how they could book your hypnotist for a show. I also always have a permanent marker so that he may autograph something, and he usually will sell merchandise at the end of his show, so it's important that you have a marker for them to get it signed, because he's kind of a big deal, so they want his autograph a lot of times, and we have lots of business cards to hand out for interested people who want to know more after the show. Alright, so the stage is set and then the audience starts to arrive. Your job now is to create excitement within the audience about the big mysterious hypnotist that's coming out, and engage with them and just create visual excitement for the grand entrance. Your hypnotist might want you to introduce them, and if you do that, there will be certain things that they want you to say, give them some accolades and share what they've done and who they are, so that people are really impressed before they walk out on the stage. So now your hypnotist has started the pre-talk, and during the pre-talk he will share that we're going to collect the belongings that could be damaged or destroyed during the show. We don't want them to have cell phones, we don't want them wearing glasses, we don't want things that will be disruptive, something in their pocket like a knife, something that's dangerous or that could fall out. We want to collect those things and keep them safe until the end of the show. Now, if you have someone who has been released from the show because they weren't at the right level of trance and they want to come up and get their belongings, that's an issue. So we have to always say at the beginning that they will get their belongings at the end of the show. That's it. They have to wait until the very end. So how do you keep the audience and other participants on stage from disturbing the show? Sometimes there's someone in the audience who's hollering up things and even heckling like this is fake, or the participants on stage are nudging each other and they're talking, and you gotta nip that in the bud very quickly so that the show can go on. Okay, so if there is a time during the show that he has told them to get out of their seats and pretend that they're circus animals or whatever, then you just have to carefully watch to make sure that the lion that's roaring and jumping through the fiery hoop is not roaring and jumping off of the stage. So that's something you also have to watch, just when they're out of their seats for safety. If there's a part where they're allowed to go out in the audience and interact with the audience members, it's usually a good idea to follow them and just kind of trail behind them and make sure that there's someone within close proximity of the volunteers when the hypnotist is on stage. Another one of your tasks as the stage hypnotist assistant is keeping people modest on stage. So you will have volunteers come up wearing skirts or dresses, and you have to handle that in a way that it's either are they going to make their own show during the show, or are you going to cover them up, or are you just going to ask them to sit back down? There's also examples where people have crawled across the stage and clothing has slipped and things like that, and it's completely fine to just walk up and fix it and make sure that they know that they're being kept modest and that you're there for the safety and protection of everyone. Alright, so one way that you can help the stage hypnotist as his assistant is managing the show. So that means you know the order of the skits, you know when the props are coming out, and you know kind of what to expect and when, so that you can be where you need to be when they need you. What we like to do is I stay on opposite side of the stage as Richard, so that there's someone in close proximity to them at all times. If there's a group over here, then he's close to them and I'm close to them over here, so that there's someone close by in case something happens. So one of the best parts of being a stage hypnotist assistant is that you get to engage in the show. You get to laugh along and clap and interact with the volunteers, and it's a really good time, and you should always look like you're having a wonderful time. Even though you might have seen this routine before, it's the best thing, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life, and usually it is. My stomach has hurt several times after these shows because it's hilarious, because no matter what you do, if you do the same routine again and again, it's different every time. So enjoy it and have fun. So after the show has ended, we want to thank the volunteers and escort them off the stage and make sure that they get off safely. And then your job is to either help sell merchandise or hand out business cards or chat with them after the show and pose for pictures, hopefully. So the show has come to an end, and now your responsibilities are to give back the belongings to the volunteers that were on stage and make sure they get off the stage safely. If you have been trained as a hypnotist and you know what to look for, it's very helpful to help the hypnotist on stage by looking for levels of trance in the volunteers so that you can help release them if they are not at the right level for the show. You may also double check to make sure that it's safe for them to get off stage and make sure that they're out of trance before they leave the stage. So if you have that training, it's especially helpful, and that's what makes a really, really good stage assistant. So before the show, it's important to help promote the event and share via social media and tell everybody else what's happening so that you have a really great crowd and awesome volunteers. All right, so once the show's over, you've done the meet and greet.
I'm kidding. All right, tell again. Sorry, that's me. That's my childhood.
All right, so at the end, it's helpful to go around if you have time after meeting and greeting and ask people for testimonials and ask them what they thought of the show. You get some really, really great reactions, especially from family members and friends of the people who were volunteering up there, that they were completely shocked by how they behaved, and it just gives a little fun bit at the end to add to the show.